Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. I hope you're good. I hope you're well. Today we are going to have a little moment together and we are going to create my 2026 vision board. First, we're going to do it digitally, and then I'm going to print the most important photos, and we're going to make it also in my journal, so I have a physical version of it as well. This is going to be a bit of a chit chat video where I'm going to guide you through my process and just talk a bit about my year, etc. I'm also going to be answering some Q&A questions that I got on the close friend stories. So if you want to be part of that to help for the next video or to answer polls, etc., make sure to DM me on Instagram and I'll add you to the close friend story. And with that being said, let's get absolutely straight into it. I think the best way to get started on a vision board is firstly to reflect on your past year, so you can see what you liked, what you didn't like so much, what habits or routines you want to stick, which ones you want to leave behind. Same goes for ambitions. This is a very personal process and it's super important to be completely honest with yourself. There's no shame if some of your goals that you had set for this year did not happen or did not go through, or if you didn't really stick to your habits the way you thought you would. No shame at all. Be completely honest, and then we can use that for next year. On screen, you'll find some of the prompts that I use if you want to kind of match my process. And I really invite you to pause this video, do this, and do it well and honestly, so that you can move on to the next step with a good and solid base. We are going to do this on freeform. For my vision board, I want to divide it into categories. I want to do relationships, which includes friends, family, and love, like romantic, I mean. A habits section. I want to do a ambitions, and I want to do a kind of bucket list. The bucket list section is, I'm going to use it to put in travel goals or big kind of fun things that I want to do this year, or that I think I'm going to do this year. I think it's nice also in a vision board to put in stuff that you kind of already know that are going to happen. So if you have travel plans that are already kind of secured, I'd put them in there, you know? I'm going to write down the list, and then we're going to move on to Pinterest to find the corresponding photos for this to make this more visual. And while we do that, we're going to answer some questions. So, relationship goals. I'm going to do it in this order: friends, family, love. Friends, I want to really prioritize my friends. That is something which I feel like I had a really hard time doing, especially when I first got into a romantic relationship. But now I'm in long distance, and I was really lucky with the friends I made here, but they're kind of they're the closest thing I have to family here. And being in a long distance relationship, I was kind of forced in a way to prioritize my friends, and I'm so grateful for this because because of this, built such strong connections. So this is your sign if you are newly in a relationship, or maybe not, and you think that you might have put your relationship kind of above your friendships, to not do that. You can have two things at once, and you can prioritize both things simultaneously without there necessarily being such a strict hierarchy. And I wrote doing things as well, because I feel like as I get older and in like adult friendships, we have this habit of just meeting up with our friends to catch up over a coffee or a drink. And by catching up, you're basically saying that you're not actually part of each other's lives. None of these stories which you're catching up on include the other person. And I think that's so silly. I don't just want to see my friends once a week or once a month to talk about the things that happen to me. Obviously, it's nice to talk, but also I want to do things with my friends. I want to experience things with these friends. So do things, switch up the routine. Family, I have a good thing going on with my family in terms of phone calls, etc. So I want to kind of keep that as is. Nothing's really changing. And then I want to go on a family trip this year. We don't have anything planned yet. And also just a trip with my mom. So I'm going to write that down. And then in terms of love, me and my boyfriend have been dating for 4 years now. And we used to live in the same city, but then in September of last year, we both went to uni, so we're in long distance now, and it's been going pretty well, although it's not always the easiest. So the goal here is to see each other every 3 weeks, to make it a habit of long FaceTime. We have a bit of a hard time with that because we both tend to be quite busy. And if I can give you a little tip, if you're doing long distance or about to go into long distance and you can, my actual lifesaver tip is that before we part ways, again, like if we're seeing each other for the weekend, before we go back to our own lives, as sad as that is to say, we make sure that we have a plan and preferably a flight booked for the next time we see each other. And that means that in the in-between time, when you're missing the person, you have a clear goal. You have this many more weeks to go, this many more days, you know? And there's not this like ambiguity because your brain will always assume the worst. So if you're apart and you have no idea when you're gonna see each other again, even if it turns out to be in, I don't know, 2 weeks, during those 2 weeks before you know when you're gonna see each other next, your brain's gonna imagine that it's like 3 years. So that's something that works really, really well for us. And I don't really need to put it as a goal or anything because we already do this. I'm gonna add the questions here. So the first question we have is how to keep a relationship, a romantic relationship, healthy. I think I'm quite good at this. I think obviously it's much easier to say when you're not in a toxic relationship, and I've never been in one and I cannot talk on that behalf. But when it comes to just from the get-go making sure or building the foundation blocks to have a healthy, loving relationship, I think it's actually a lot more straightforward than we can make it seem sometimes. You just have to be very open and upfront on what it is you want and how it is you want this relationship to go. So what I mean by that is being upfront. You can't play games. And I know that sounds annoying because sometimes you want to play games, sometimes you don't want to be upfront, sometimes you want to kind of go around it, but that is only going to create more tension, more complications, more of everything bad. So if you notice the other person's playing games, or if you see that you're going in that direction, what I mean with playing games is like being ambiguous, giving the other person less attention because you want more attention, things like that. I get called out immediately. He knows me too well. He knows what I'm doing, so it doesn't slide. If you don't want games because you want a clear, healthy relationship, if you know what they're doing, if you see the patterns and you're like, okay, what are you playing out? Tell them up front. I know this is so uncomfortable, especially at the beginning, but you tell them up front, what are you doing? Like, what exactly are you playing? And then you can tell them, be like, hey, listen, I don't want to do this. I don't want to play games. Same if you're arguing and the person starts being a bit mean or talking in a tone you dislike, you can tell them, honestly, be like, hey, listen, I understand we're disagreeing on this, but I don't want to go about this way. Let's do it differently. I just think that's the easiest way. Sometimes it's hard because you really don't want to talk. You want the person to understand what you're thinking without saying it, nah. But the more upfront you are, in the long run, you're building a healthy base and you're allowing each other to understand each other. It also helps to be with someone who is right for you. I got really lucky with that, and to not force anything that is clearly not working. But yeah, obviously if you're with someone who has more difficult tendencies, it might be hard to create a healthy relationship or a healthy dynamic. But I was pretty lucky, and to avoid that, I would say avoid forcing yourself into something if it doesn't feel fully right. Okay, that is everything in the relationships block. Should we add some photos? We're gonna go find some photos. I'm gonna put some friend ones. I'm gonna look up friends. I got very lucky at uni and I made 2 really, really good friends. I think the advice I gave on relationships kind of applies to all kind of relationships as well, friendships, etc. Don't push anything if it doesn't feel right. If the people don't align with you, with your ideas, with your values, there's no point. There's really no point. I'm also gonna look up some for the family vibes. I think a lot of us are very visual, myself included, and just writing these things down, it doesn't quite have the same effect as images that really match it and that help you visualize the whole vibe. So sometimes I like to take the time and do this, but for the sake of this video, I'm only gonna have these now. I might find a bit more in a minute. Okay, habits. I want to spend time on my hobbies. So that is pottery, or I want to get into pottery this year. That is reading. I want to read more. 2025 was not a very good year for reading for me. So I want to put a little goal of 2 to 3 books a month. I think this works really well for me, gives me enough time to do other stuff, to read, to prioritize reading, and to remember the books I read. Sometimes we're in such a habit of more, but it's also important to take the time to read the things you're reading. And I want to particularly prioritize my international reading. If you're unaware, I'm on a book challenge to read one book written in every single country on the globe. I already have one YouTube video on this posted, and that will be linked down below, and I'll have another one coming out for you soon. Let me know if you guys would want to join a book club. I'd be down. Morning yoga is my actual favorite routine ever. I've been doing yoga kind of on and off for 5 years now, and I notice such a difference between the days when I do my morning yoga and when I don't. And one ambition I have for this year is to actually push myself, because I tend to get very comfortable in my routine and I want to get better. So another thing that I find really helpful when making vision boards or like is you have your big goal, but to also visualize the kind of smaller steps that will get you there. So I want to take class occasionally, challenging YouTube classes. This gives me direct goals and direct steps to take to get there. So that's really good. I also want to try new recipes. So the goal is to do 2 new recipes a week. And we're gonna find a couple images for this as well. I also want to keep doing research. This is a new habit I put in this year and I loved it so much. If you want to learn more about that, make sure to check out my video on journaling. I talk about my process and it's really nice. And then in terms of YouTube videos, someone asked when and how I discovered my love for doing YouTube videos. So this was kind of a dream of mine for years, since I was very, very young. I remember the first YouTuber I was allowed to be subscribed to was Ashley Marie, and I remember watching all her summer snack videos and I think bucketlist and things like that when I was really young, and being like, this is so cool. This is just so cool. But it was very scary and something I never actually imagined myself doing until the last year of high school rolled around, and I was like, you know what? I could, and I think I kind of chose a perfect time to do it, although realistically the perfect time is right now if it's something you've been wanting to do as well. I started during the later months of my last high school year, and then during that summer I had loads of time to do more, to post more, to film more. And then that also meant that in uni no one would really know, and until really, really recently no one did know, because I only told my 2 really close friends because I was a bit shy, and now it's slowly kind of coming out. And it's actually not that big of a deal. And for me, it's mainly a really, really great creative outlet. And I'm so happy to have started it. I'm so happy to have you guys and to have this ability to express whatever's on my mind, be that more analytical, more fun. I really love it. So I can only recommend. And this kind of leads me on to the next question, which is my favorite YouTubers to watch. I love Hitomi Mochizuki, Moya, really like Moya. I love, obviously, Kat. She'll be linked down below. Gracie Robinson has been really, really great. And Josephine, amongst many, many, many others. Yeah, this is pretty good. And then ambitions. I obviously want to invest more time and energy into YouTube. And then I do have some numerical goals, which I won't be sharing right now. But when you make your own, it is super important that you're honest with yourself and that you put your goals in there, regardless of how unrealistic they might appear to you right now, because first off, they're not. And if you don't achieve them at the end of this year, there's always the year after. I've worked with some really nice brands this year. That's something I am really, really grateful for, and something I want to keep doing. The steps for this would be post weekly, film in advance, I'm really bad at this, and get off my phone so I actually have time to think and be more creative. I also forgot, guys, in the habits, I've been going to spin classes, which I love, and I've been running a bit, and I want to go to a dance class. So I'm gonna add that in there. That's something kind of fun to try. Another goal I have is to run a semi-marathon. It's not looking good right now, but I'm gonna add it on here anyway. And so to do this, I need to run, I'd say 3 times a week. Interesting internships for this summer in Paris or Milan, probably. That leads us to the next question, which is my favorite subject at school. And I think to start that, I should start by telling you what I'm studying right now. Right now, I'm doing international business management, and the idea is to next year specialize in luxury marketing. I'm not the biggest fan of my course. It is not quite as creative as I would have liked, which is why it is so important for me to have other habits and ambitions and hobbies alongside school. But it's okay. My favorite subjects are, I've been learning Italian, which I love. I love learning a new language, and I can see myself get better. So that's been really, really fun. I like statistics, quantitative methods, we call it. And I really like political science and geopolitics. Yeah, these are my favorite subjects this year. But like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of my course, which is okay. Something slightly more fun, which is what fragrance people associate to me. That would have to be Eau d'Huile by Diptyque. It is a sweet but also spicy kind of musky scent with vanilla and red pepper, I think amber. And I love the scent. It is very original, very me. But it's coming to an end, and I don't know what I'm gonna buy once this runs out. Back to the photo finding. Okay, and then moving on to the bucket list item. Yeah, there's gonna be trips and fun things I have planned this year. So first off, I'm doing an academic exchange. I'm unsure where yet, but I think the top contestants are Milan or London. So I'm gonna write both on there, and I'm gonna eventually put photos of both. This kind of leads me to the next question, which is what cities I see myself living in. And definitely a big fashion and culture city, so that would be Paris. Probably, I love Paris. Maybe Milan, maybe London. I'm actually gonna film a vlog soon. I have trips coming up. I have trips to Milan. I have a trip planned to Paris. I want to go to Turin. I would love to go skiing this year. I haven't gone skiing in the longest time, and it would just be so fun. I would love to ski. This kind of links to the getting off my phone. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Time in nature, and I would love to go to a yoga retreat. I don't know if I'll have the time for it this year. But I'll put it on the list and we'll see. While we find the last photos, we're gonna answer the final question, which is a question I really love. And it is how to recenter after a bad week, feeling demotivated, or just not reaching the goal. So this is a bit of a heavy question. There's a lot to it, but I have answers. The first thing I like to do is get something done. Do something which I know I can complete, which proves to me that I can do what I set my mind to. This can be finishing homework, this can be finishing a video, this can be doing a workout, this can be doing notes that I've been procrastinating, sending an email, anything, as long as I get it done and I prove to myself that that is something I do. Then I take a shower. I don't care what time of the day it is. I don't care if I've showered 1 time, 2 times, 5 times. I'll go in the shower, I'll cleanse, I'll start over. I won't listen to music usually or a podcast or anything, just shower. And then once I'm clean, usually I'll eat something, and then I do something for the soul, for the spirit. So that's something that feels good. That can be in really, really horrible days. That might just be watching a movie or a series, because that's all I can get myself to do. On a better day, that might be a yoga video or painting something, drawing, writing, journaling, just doing something that I know will feel good. And reminding myself that it's okay, and I'll do it again tomorrow, I'll try again, and it will end up being fine. That's what really helps me. I'm now gonna add just a couple photos for the vibes. I think it helps to make your vision board beautiful and not just goals, but also show kind of the feeling you want for this year. So I'm gonna do that now. Okay, I have gone ahead and reorganized everything. So it is this big, beautiful visual mess that I understand and that connects all the ideas, because a lot of these goals were interconnected. Makes sense. And this is kind of how I visualize this upcoming year to be. I'm now going to select the most prominent photos, and then I'm going to print them, and I'll meet you guys again very soon so that we can make this a physical kind of collage together. And here is the final version of my 2026 vision board. I actually can't believe 2026 is so close, literally so close. I like having it on paper. I can see it more easily than when it's on my MacBook, but the whole process is just really nice. And I think there's also something really I feel really present cutting up the photos, sticking them in, choosing the layout. I'm really happy with this. It's quite minimal. You can also do a mood board that's completely packed with photos, but I think this really brings out the main takeaways for me. So I'm really, really happy, and this was really fun. I really love filming this video. I hope you enjoyed it as well. Make sure to like, follow, comment, and subscribe for more. And if you have any video recommendations, let them be known down below. I really appreciate it.